But now let's bring in my favourite Wednesday panel, former Victorian Liberal Party President Michael Kroger and former Labor Minister Graham Richardson. Welcome to you both. Michael Kroger, what are your thoughts on everything I've just had to say and Albanese's belated attempt to deal with this crisis?
Well, I'm shocked at your revelation, but I think it's time for this bloke to resign. I mean, he's doing permanent damage to this country. He wanders around Jewish institutions railing against anti-Semitism. This is a bloke who hasn't visited Israel since October 7, who didn't direct his foreign minister to visit the kibbutzim and the Novi Music Festival site, who personally hasn't been to Israel. He's such a friend of Israel. He hasn't been there for a quarter of a century. In 18 and 19, he had 3 meetings, not one, he had 3 meetings with the notorious anti-Semite Jeremy Corbyn and allowed himself to be photographed with Corbyn. He wants to arrest the Israeli Prime Minister if he comes to this country. He couldn't wait to restore funding to UNRWA, despite the fact that there hadn't been an investigation finished. He changed the designation of the capital from West Jerusalem. He allowed 3,000 residents of Gaza to come to Australia. He told the Israeli government not to go into Lebanon. He called for a ceasefire repeatedly between Israel and the terrorist organisation Hamas. He happily was photographed with Yasser Arafat when he was younger. Well, let's forgive him for that because he was on a PLO tour. He misleads the country about green preferences. Let's be very clear. He has the swing vote on the Federal Executive Labor Party. 10 left, 10 right, and him. He has a swing vote. Albo's asked, he says, it's so bad if the... No, he is the organisation. The Federal Executive. It's his decision whether Labor give preferences to the Greens or other parties. And on it goes. Refused to hold a judicial inquiry into anti-Semitism, the disgraceful Jewish hatred on a university campuses. Gillian Siegel, who he appointed as the commissioner and then just completely ignored her, refused a visa to a former Israeli minister, allows 4 of his frontbenchers to trash the Bob Hawke tradition just so they can save their seats in Sydney. He's a real friend of Israel and he's seriously opposed to anti-Semitism. This bloke who took 6 months to clear extremists away from his own office. If he can't get these anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish racists away from his own office for 6 months, what hope have the Jewish community got, Shari?
You put it so well, Michael, when you detail the extent of the past here, and I'm sure there would be other examples. But
well, that's half. That's about half of it.
Yeah,
that's about half of it, Shari. There's a lot more there.
I mean, there were stories that I had even forgotten. That photograph with Arafat, I broke that on the show. I completely had forgotten about that. There's just so much material here. Richo, we know you're a mate of Albo's before you start defending him. But come on, Richo. I mean, he is standing there at the Holocaust Museum today. At the same time, you've had Ed Husic out this week speaking about Islamophobia. The same with other ministers as well. Penny Wong still criticising Israel. Apparently, just tonight, we're expecting another hostile vote at the United Nations. He's got to pull his cabinet into line if he is serious about this issue. What do you think, Richo?
I think we have been a little loose, shall we say, on the subject of Israel. I think overwhelmingly Australians support the right of Israel to exist within safe and secure borders. Overwhelmingly we do. And so it's only a very small minority who don't. And if you side with that small minority, you take a very big political risk. Certainly not one that I'd take. But it's not just about polling and who wins elections. It's about principle as well. And the principle involved here is absolutely clear. And we have nowhere to go as a civilised nation except to continue to support the right of Israel to exist with safe and secure borders.
Richard, I just want to ask you what's happened to Mark Dreyfus and Richard Marles. What has happened to the Labor right that traditionally has been a friend of Israel?
Yes, well, when you say the Labor right, I've been somewhat associated with the Labor right for a few years. And I know at New South Wales conferences, year after year after year, we maintained very strong support for Israel. We never weakened. And as far as I'm concerned, Miles is in the same category. He's never weakened in his support.
Just in his power and his character.
Well, I mean, I think that there's only so much one man can do, but I think Miles has been pretty good. I'm not going to criticise Miles for
But where is
anything
he,
about
Richo?
Israel.
Where are they? Why aren't they speaking out?
Well, I suppose that they could get out a bit more. I think Australia and the Australian Labor Party have done so much over so long. I think people know where we stand.